Daniel Reyes was hosing oil off his driveway when the flatbeds started arriving. 6 of them, one after another, each dropping a wreck at the curb until his quiet street looked like a junkyard. A Honda with a blown head gasket. A pickup with a bent frame. A sedan missing its bumper. 9 more behind it, each worse than the last. Vanessa Cole stepped out of a white SUV in heels, phone already filming. She was the daughter of Cole & Associates Auto Group, the biggest dealership chain in 3 counties, and she'd hated Daniel since he'd refused to sell her father his little repair shop 2 years earlier. "Consider it a donation," she said, grinning at the camera. "Since you like fixing junk so much, single dad. Maybe your kid can play in one." A few neighbors stepped onto their porches, drawn by the hydraulics and the smell of leaking coolant on the asphalt. Someone across the street started recording too. Vanessa didn't seem to notice, or didn't care. She'd built her whole personality around not caring what people thought of her. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't touch a single car. He pulled out his phone and dialed the police. His daughter Mia, 11 years old, watched from the porch. "Are we in trouble, Dad?" "No," he said. "She is. She just doesn't know it." "You want to actually do this?" Ray asked, looking over the list. 3 months, minimum, if we are doing it right and not cutting corners. "I've got nothing better to do at 11 at night," Daniel said. "And Mia sleeps easier when I'm in the garage instead of scrolling my phone being angry." Over the next 3 months, Daniel worked nights and weekends alongside Ray and Thomas. He salvaged what could be salvaged, sourced used parts through the same wholesale network Cole & Associates used, and sold each finished car through local listings and small auctions. It was slow, unglamorous work, replacing head gaskets, straightening frames, chasing down title transfers the citation had made easy to prove were legitimately his to sell. Some weeks only 1 car moved from the waiting row to the done row. Other weeks, nothing did, because a part was backordered or Mia had a school play and Daniel wasn't going to miss it for a bumper. He kept a whiteboard in the garage with all 12 VINs listed, and he crossed one off only when it was sold, not before. By the end of the 3rd month, the 12 wrecks had become roughly $70,000 in profit, along with a reputation. Word got around that Daniel's shop did honest, careful work, and new customers started showing up who'd never have found him otherwise. That reputation mattered more than the money. Because while Daniel was elbow deep in transmissions, Cole & Associates was falling apart. Vanessa's father had over-leveraged the group buying 2 new locations, and the citation from the dumping incident had become public record, picked up by a local news blog under the headline "Dealership Family Cited for Illegal Dumping at Single Father's Home." Vendors got nervous. A bank pulled a line of credit. By month 2, the group was quietly looking for a buyer to avoid foreclosure. Daniel heard about it from a customer, an older man named Frank who did small business lending on the side. Daniel laid out the numbers honestly: $70,000 in liquidated inventory, a growing repair business, and a business plan for turning the failing dealership around by keeping its service department and cutting the overextended lots. Frank didn't hand him a blank check. He introduced him to 2 other local investors, a retired contractor and a woman who owned a chain of tire shops, who'd each read the same news story and liked the idea of backing the mechanic over the family that had tried to bury him in scrap metal. Together, they put together a legitimate offer, backed by proof of funds and a lawyer who handled the disclosures Cole & Associates board required. It wasn't a fairy tale sum. It was real financing, built the slow way, over real months. "I'm not doing this to embarrass her," Daniel told the group, the first time they all sat down together in Frank's back office. "I want the service department kept intact, I want the current mechanics offered their jobs, and I want the 2 over-leveraged lots cut loose so we are not drowning the day we sign. If that's not the deal you want to back, I understand." Nobody objected. The retired contractor, a quiet man named Hal, just nodded and said, "That's the only kind of deal worth backing." The board didn't know who was behind the offer. Daniel's lawyer submitted it under the investment group's name, and the seller's side ran the standard vetting, credit history, funding verification, a walkthrough of the shop's growing books. Nothing about it was hidden or dramatic. It just worked, because the numbers worked and the timing was right. The closing happened on a Tuesday morning in a downtown law office. Vanessa was there representing her father, who'd stopped coming to meetings weeks earlier. She sat across the table reviewing paperwork, barely looking up, until Daniel walked in with his lawyer and Frank. She went still. "You're joking." "No jokes this time," Daniel said, sitting down. "Just paperwork. Same as you handed me 3 months ago. Vanessa's hands tightened on her pen. This isn't, you can't just. I can, and I did, Daniel said quietly. You dumped 12 cars on my street to embarrass me in front of my daughter. I fixed them, sold them, and used the profit to help buy the company that dumped them. That's it. That's the whole story. The room was quiet except for the shuffle of papers as the lawyers moved the signing forward. Vanessa's own attorney leaned over and murmured something about the offer being clean, fully vetted, with nothing worth contesting. She signed last, her signature shakier than the ones before it. The same way you almost lost the company, Daniel said. One decision at a time, except mine were the kind you don't have to hide from a police report. She didn't answer that. When it was done, she stood, gathered her folder, and left without another word. Her father wasn't even in the room to see it. Daniel sat there a moment longer while the lawyers finished the last of the paperwork, Frank clapping a hand on his shoulder. It didn't feel like winning, exactly. It felt like the ground finally sitting still under him after 3 months of being tilted. Daniel didn't gloat, and he didn't post it online. He drove home, and Mia was waiting on the porch where the Rex used to sit, now just an empty stretch of clean driveway. Did it work? She asked. It worked, he said. He kept the dealership service department and let go of the 2 overextended lots, just like he'd planned. He kept most of the original mechanics, including a few who'd been afraid they'd lose their jobs in the foreclosure, and told them so on his first morning as owner, standing in the same service bay where they'd expected a stranger in a suit instead of a guy in a work shirt who still had grease under his nails. Ray came on as shop foreman. Thomas ran bodywork out of the second location. A couple of the sales staff quit within the first month, expecting the same corporate churn they'd always known. Most of the rest stayed, once they realized nobody was getting fired just to pad a spreadsheet. Within a year, the business Vanessa had tried to bury him with was outperforming what it had ever done under Cole and Associates. Daniel didn't run ads bragging about it. He didn't need to. Customers who'd been burned by upsells and pressure tactics under the old ownership started coming back on their own, telling friends the new owner actually explained what was wrong with their car instead of just quoting a number. He kept 1 car from the original 12, the blue pickup with the bent frame, the first one he and Thomas had fully rebuilt. It sat in the driveway, running fine, nothing special to look at, the same spot where a fleet of wrecks had once been dumped to make him small in front of his own kid. Mia asked once, months later, why he never sold it along with the other 11. Some things you keep, he said, so you remember what you built out of what somebody threw away. She thought about that, sitting on the porch steps beside him while the engine ticked as it cooled. Are you going to keep the dealership too? For as long as it takes good care of the people working there, he said. That's the only kind of keeping that's ever really worth much, kiddo. That was the whole answer. He didn't need a bigger one, and neither did she.